It's Wednesday, August 2nd, and This Is Now on HNN.
This is the first time that political speech has been criminalized.
His efforts to make this a political speech case will not fly.
Former President Donald Trump faces new charges related to the January 6th Capitol attack and the 2020 election. I'm Natalie Brand with the details of the historic indictment and reaction from his legal team.
Meanwhile, Senate office buildings on Capitol Hill were locked down this afternoon after a concerning 911 call.
Drivers have the power to make our roadways safe.
As students get ready to head back to school, a reminder for drivers about pedestrian safety.
These stories, plus you can visit a national park for free this Friday. Details coming up on This Is Now.
Aloha and welcome to This Is Now. Former President Donald Trump is scheduled to appear in a Washington, D.C. federal courtroom Thursday afternoon to face the latest criminal charges against him.
A federal grand jury indicted Mr. Trump yesterday, accusing him of trying to overturn the 2020 election results. It's the former president's third criminal indictment, and he denies any wrongdoing. Natalie Brand has the latest.
Security preparations are underway, and demonstrators gathering outside the Washington, D.C. courthouse where former President Donald Trump is scheduled to be arraigned Thursday. This indictment, related to his actions after losing the 2020 election on January 6th, lists 4 felony charges accusing Trump of spreading lies, knowing his claims were false, and along with 6 co-conspirators organizing fake electors in 7 states he lost.
This is the first time that political speech has been criminalized, and they have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he had corrupt intent.
Former federal prosecutor Harry Littman says that defense falls short.
His efforts to make this a political speech case will not fly, given the facts as alleged in the indictment.
Special counsel Jack Smith has yet to charge or even name the 6 co-conspirators listed in the indictment.
He's charged Trump and Trump alone when he could have charged many more.
Clues in the indictment suggest lawyers Rudy Giuliani, John Eastman, Sidney Powell, as well as former Justice Department official Jeffrey Clark could be the potential co-conspirators.
This may be just a little push toward any of the 6 to say, okay, I didn't name you, here's your chance. Come on down. You can cooperate with me.
Some legal analysts say the narrow indictment means the trial could happen quickly, possibly wrapping up by next spring. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, Washington.
Joining us now for an in-depth explanation on all of this is our John Decker. John, thank you so much for your time and joining us here on This Is Now. First off, can you tell us how strong of a case is this?
Well, of course, we only have one side, and that's the side that's presented by the special counsel, Jack Smith. But reading through this 45-page indictment, it's a pretty straightforward indictment that spells out a narrative that puts the former president in a very bad position. Why is that? It's because of the mountain of evidence that the special counsel clearly has as it relates to prosecuting this case. Emails and text messages and phone logs. Even the contemporaneous notes of the former Vice President Mike Pence are mentioned in this particular indictment, and that does not necessarily mean that that's all the evidence that the special counsel has in terms of prosecuting this case against the former president. On top of that, Dylan, you also have to factor in the jurisdiction where this criminal case will take place. It's right here in Washington, D.C., and that is not a favorable jurisdiction to the former president. And the reason for that is the last presidential election. Here in Washington, 95% of registered voters voted for Joe Biden over Donald Trump in the 2020 election. So that's the jury pool that Donald Trump and his lawyers will be contending with.
And John, we understand there are some possible co-conspirators in this case. Tell us about them.
Well, that's right. They're unindicted co-conspirators, and they're not named specifically in this 45-page indictment. But reading through the indictment and the context of it, you can figure out who some of those unindicted co-conspirators are, including unindicted co-conspirator number 1. That would be Rudy Giuliani, the former personal lawyer to the former president. He carried out this scheme, according to the indictment, to put forward a fake slate of electors to try to overturn the results of the 2020 election. There's a Justice Department official who ran the environmental division at the Justice Department, who also is an unindicted co-conspirator. There's 2 outside lawyers not employed by the Department of Justice or the White House counsel's office that are also among those unindicted co-conspirators. They may or may not be charged by the grand jury, but it's clear that this was a conspiracy, according to the special counsel, that was very far-reaching.
And John, what can we expect in news of tomorrow? Is anything expected to happen then?
Yes, tomorrow, Dylan, we will see the first appearance of Donald Trump related to this criminal case against him. He will have his arraignment tomorrow afternoon, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. At that time, he will enter into the courthouse. He will surrender. He will be arrested. He will be arraigned. He will be processed. And then he will, in the courtroom, have the charges read to him, asks if he understands them, and then he will be asked to enter a plea. He'll enter a plea of not guilty, and then he will be released on his own recognizance. So it's another instance where the former president, for the 3rd time in 4 months, is going through this process of being arraigned, being arrested. This is unprecedented, and tomorrow will be another unusual, historic day as it relates to the former president.
And John, one last question for you. For the average voter, all of this may be very confusing for them to keep up with. If you could just summarize everything that has happened so far. As you've heard, this isn't the first time this has happened, but some voters may be asking, how can he face all these criminal charges and still be in the running for president? What should the average voter take away from all of these troubles?
Well, there's nothing in the Constitution that bars Donald Trump in any way from running for president. It's going to be a difficult task for him next year in the sense that he has to balance his run for the Republican nomination, all the primaries, the caucuses, the debates, along with all of the criminal matters, which now have court dates. At least 2 of them do. One in March of next year, one in May of next year. And we'll get a court date for this one as well. This likely will also take place in 2024. So he's got a lot on his plate as he runs for president of the United States. And, you know, look, I guess he thinks that he can handle all of these competing factors at the same time. But I think even one criminal matter would be a lot for any individual. He is facing the possibility of 4 criminal cases in 2024 while he's running for president.
Definitely a lot to keep track of. Our John Decker in Washington, D.C., thank you so much for joining us here on This Is Now.
Also on Capitol Hill, a 911 call warning of a possible active shooter locked down Senate office buildings this afternoon. Authorities say it turned out to be a bogus call. Capitol Police say at around 2:30 D.C. time, the caller said there was a, quote, heavy-set Hispanic male wearing body armor inside the Hart Senate office building. A shelter-in-place order was issued and officers evacuated the hallways and shouted at people to run outside and away from the building. A floor-by-floor search of the 3 buildings near the U.S. Capitol found nothing.
We're walking down the first floor hallway, and all of a sudden there's a loud noise behind us. We turn around, there's about 20 police with guns drawn running down behind us.
What'd they say?
And get out of the way, get out of the way. On the way out, they said if you hear noise behind you, hit the ground immediately.
Scary.
Yeah, it's not exactly too comforting. I've been coming to this building for 25, 30 years, never heard anything like that before.
The all clear was given about 90 minutes later. Both the House of Representatives and Senate are currently on recess, and the office buildings are generally less crowded than usual.
An investigation is underway on Hawaii Island after police say a man was killed by a pack of dogs. It happened in the Hawaiian Ocean View Estate subdivision Tuesday just before 9 in the morning. A witness saw an elderly man being attacked in the roadway by 4 large dogs. The witness chased the dogs off and called 911. Officials say the victim died on the way to the hospital. Authorities identified him as 71-year-old Robert Northrop of Ocean View. Police say the dog's owners were not home at the time. We're told the owners have surrendered the dogs along with a litter of 10 puppies. Police opened a negligent failure to control a dangerous dog case, which is a felony. If convicted, the dog's owners could face up to 10 years in prison, a $25,000 fine, and the dogs could be euthanized. Hawaii County Police tell us investigators are looking into claims that the dogs had been reported as stray animals in the past. The police chief said, quote, "There is currently no evidence that the victim provoked this horrific attack. This incident is a senseless tragedy that could have been avoided."
On the Big Island, a teacher accused of sexually assaulting a student has been extradited back to California. Ventura County sheriffs were looking for Paul Herter, wanted in connection with a sex assault investigation that dates back to 2013. Police say during his time as a teacher in California, he forced a juvenile student to engage in numerous sexual acts, and he also possessed child pornography. In June, detectives traced him to Pahoa, where he was arrested. It's believed he also taught on the Big Island, but it's not known where. The state education department says he was never a DOE employee. Herter is being held on $1.1 million bail. The man responsible for a mass shooting at the Tree of Life Synagogue in 2018 has been sentenced. Kathy Park is in Pittsburgh with more.
Robert Bowers, a convicted killer who carried out the worst anti-Semitic attack in U.S. history when he stormed into the Tree of Life Synagogue back in October of 2018, will be sentenced to death. The same jury who convicted Bowers on all 63 federal counts back in June decided to press forward with the death penalty, and this decision was unanimous. But it could be years before there is an execution. The DOJ currently has a moratorium on capital punishment, and according to legal experts, it's likely that his legal team will be filing an appeal. Back to you.
Power has been restored to residents in upcountry Maui after a fallen tree toppled power lines and crushed a vehicle. According to Maui police, a vehicle was traveling on Makawao Avenue towards Makawao Town around 4 p.m. when a tree fell onto the power lines and vehicle. Officials say due to the live wires, a small fire ignited in the nearby brush. MFD arrived on scene shortly after and extinguished the fire. Officials say the driver and a single occupant of the vehicle were transported in stable condition to the Maui Memorial Medical Center for further treatment. The incident initially knocked out power for upwards of 6,000 customers in Makawao, Haiku, Hana, Pukalani, and Lower Kula.
The state's public housing authority is planning to build 10,000 affordable units over a decade. The affordable units for rent and for sale would be at 9 properties statewide, including Mayor Wright Homes in Kalihi. More than 360 units would be redeveloped to 2,400 units for the first phase. The low-rise units would be converted to high-rise apartments with more green space. Residents will have to move out in phases, starting at the end of next year.
We're hoping at the end of the day, we are producing housing in huge numbers to benefit all income.
Are you guaranteed any assurances that you would be ahead of the line?
No, unfortunately, we're not guaranteed that.
Even though you need it?
We do need it.
The Public Housing Authority's executive director says he expects the governor's emergency housing proclamation to shave off a year or two from the permitting process.
Repairs are underway to fix an 8-inch water main break in Kakaako. The Board of Water Supply said it broke yesterday evening on Coral Street next to Mother Waldron Playground. Gushing water from the main break flooded multiple roads, leaving behind a big mess. No injuries were reported, but officials said water service for 2 commercial customers in the area were impacted. Portions of Pokoaina, Coral, Awahi, and Halekawila streets remain closed. Motorists are advised to avoid the area while repairs are ongoing. The Board of Water Supply said an alternate water source will be provided and customers must bring their own containers to fill. The cause of the break is unknown at this time. And in news out of Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam, another wastewater discharge has been reported. This time, 5,000 gallons went into the ocean after only receiving partial treatment Monday evening. The Navy blames king tides for a higher than average flow at the Base treatment plant, combined with ongoing improvement projects. The military says the water around the base remains safe for recreation. This comes after 9,500 gallons were discharged Sunday night. That was blamed on a separate and unrelated pump failure.
We're continuing our back to school coverage today, focusing on pedestrian safety. Casey Lund is in Ala Moana with a reminder for drivers to slow down and pay attention.
Aloha, we know that most public school students head back to school on August 7th, but you'll notice already a lot more kids out on the sidewalks, in the streets, and even younger drivers, of course, as they head back to class. Lance Ray is with us from Walk Wise, Hawaii, and we're also talking about Pedestrian Safety Month. By the way, we're here at Auto Source in the Ala Moana area, and we're here for a reason. They're partners with you as we go into pedestrian safety.
Because August is Pedestrian Safety Month, and our focus this year, of course, is driver awareness of pedestrians. So we need partners like Auto Source Carousel to reach out to drivers, because drivers have the power to make our roadways safe, right? A driver decides if they're going to be distracted or not. They decide if they're going to speed or not. They're going to decide if they're going to be impaired or not. And it's important for us to teach drivers and then teach our children to be better drivers when they grow up.
And I think there's also a conversation that parents need to have about being a good pedestrian, paying attention when you're out on the roadway. So Walkwise, Pedestrian Safety Month, they've got events scheduled throughout the month of August. All the details on HawaiiNewsNow.com. I also want to talk about child passenger safety, and to do that, Lisa Dow is with us. She's the Injury Prevention Coordinator for Kapiolani Medical Center for Women and Children. I want to show a scenario in here. First of all, actually, before we do that, Lisa, there's a really important change that happened recently that I think all families that have school-age children should know about. Can you explain that?
Sure, yeah. The new updated child passenger safety law actually became into effect back last year in June. And there are two really big points that we want people to know about. Rear-facing tutu. We want to keep our infants and toddlers rear-facing as long as possible to protect their head, neck, and spine. And then our older children, for booster age, the law moved it from up to 8, now up to 10, unless if they're taller than 4 feet 9 inches.
No, let's talk about boosters, and I want to show some of the scenarios in here, and I'll let you point those out, Lisa. Show us what one of those is correct, one of them's not, right? Can you tell us a little bit more?
So this is a simulation of a 6-year-old in what we call backless booster or no back booster, and we have that child sitting in the seat, just like how you and I would sit in the vehicle with the lap and shoulder belt, but now they're boosted up so that the seatbelt fits properly across their chest, between the shoulders, low on their hips, and nice and snug. Whereas the child next to the 6-year-old is an average size 8-year-old, and our previous law allowed 8 and up without a booster, but you can see how it's poorly fit. The shoulder portion of the belt is hitting across their neck, where a lot of times they'll just put it behind their back because it feels uncomfortable. The lap portion of the belt is really on their tummy, nothing really protecting the child, and they're slouching down so it fits better.
So those are just things that you really need to keep an eye on and think about as your kids grow, and they grow fast. So many of them, you have to be on top of those changes. Lisa Dow with us from Hawaii Pacific Health, Kapiolani Medical Center for Women and Children. We want to remind you that they have a wealth of information and resources on their website. You can find all that information and everything that has to do with Pedestrian Safety Month, again, at HawaiiNewsNow.com. For now, we'll send things back to you.
Thank you so much, Casey, for that report. A lot of useful tips there for all the parents out there. Let's go ahead and give you a live look out over Washington, D.C. Once again, that false alarm of an active shooter has been all cleared at the U.S. Senate offices. No injuries have been reported there, so that is some good news. Let's turn now to international news, where severe weather is pummeling Asia. Now, in China, at least 21 people are dead after Typhoon Doksuri. State media reports that evacuation orders were given to more than 127,000 people.
And another typhoon is also causing severe problems in Okinawa and parts of Japan, and the threat is not over. Anna Koren has more.
The death toll from former super typhoon Doksuri continues to rise across China. 21 people now dead, according to authorities. 12 of those were in Beijing, with another dozen still missing. The storm has dumped the heaviest rainfall over the capital ever recorded in 140 years. Heavy rains began pummeling Beijing and surrounding areas last Saturday, with the average rainfall for the month of July falling on the capital in just 40 hours. Severe flooding washed away cars, damaged buildings and roads, with many residents needing to be evacuated. In neighbouring Hebei province, over 800,000 people were evacuated. Authorities say 9 people were killed, 6 are still missing. Chinese leader Xi Jinping called for every effort to rescue those lost or trapped by the rain. State media reports that maximum rainfall was recorded in 10 weather stations in Hebei province, also breaking historical records. The local meteorological service says rainfall in Beijing and Hebei is expected to ease today, while the storm moves towards northeastern China. As we know, China has been experiencing extreme weather and posting record temperatures this summer, which scientists believe has been exacerbated by climate change. Another typhoon is now heading towards China. Typhoon Kanun, the 6th storm this year, is powerful and slow-moving. Currently, it's lashing Japan, although authorities say it's weakened slightly. It's reached winds of 185 kilometres an hour, that's 115 miles per hour, the equivalent of a Category 3 Atlantic hurricane. So far, 1 person has died. Kanun has knocked out power to 1/3 of homes in Okinawa. Phone and internet connections have been disrupted. The airport in Okinawa's capital has been closed for a second day. Okinawa is home to the bulk of US forces based in Japan. This typhoon is expected to move towards China and Taiwan later this week. Anna Corrin, CNN, Hong Kong.
How's it on this Wednesday? With regard to any tropical cyclones, it's still very quiet here at home in the Central Pacific, so we're looking good. But Hurricane Dora is intensifying rapidly. It's a small cyclone as cyclones go, but it is getting stronger pretty quickly. Right now, the winds are at 90 miles an hour, expected to get to a major Category 3 hurricane by sometime tonight. Then it's going to stay on a westerly track, eventually fall into cooler water with upper level wind shear. So it's going to fall apart, and most of whatever's left will pass by to the south of us. So it does not pose a major severe weather threat to us anytime soon. Though we do have some windward and mucus showers, they're very, very welcome because it's dry for some areas of the state, especially leeward sides. But because of those breezy winds, we might get some splashovers, but rainfall totals are going to be skimpy regardless until possibly the weekend when we could see an uptick in those windward and mucus showers. So don't expect a lot of rain today. A few minor splashes expected for a handful of spots. Otherwise, we're expecting lots of sunshine. High temperatures running to near 90. Luckily, those breezy trade winds will keep our humidity levels comfortable. And those breezy trade winds will keep the surf rolling into the east side. The South Shore swell is peaked, although we could see another reinforcing swell sometime tomorrow. And heads up, we still could get some coastal flooding for some beaches because of the extremely high tides through tomorrow afternoon. So the breezy trade wind weather will continue. It's going to be absolutely lovely all the way through Sunday. And then starting on Monday, those trade winds will pick up. It's going to be especially windy on Tuesday.
And take a live look outside of that beautiful weather that Guy Hoggy is talking about. Absolutely beautiful day out and around Hawaii.
Yeah, so here's what the internet's talking about. On Friday, the National Park Service is waiving entrance fees at all of its sites in celebration of the 3rd anniversary of the Great American Outdoors Act. Now, the service said the act is making a big difference in the protection and enjoyment of national parks and other public lands. So the fee waiver on Friday only applies to the cost of entry. It does not apply to fees for camping. The Park Service is also offering fee-free days this year on September 23rd for National Public Lands Day and November 11th for Veterans Day.
There you go. So you can go out and enjoy the beautiful weather for the rest of this week out at a national park. And I have yet to experience Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. I know, I gotta go see it, man. Gotta see it. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Aloha.